Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 107. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Today, we're going to be talking about the PlayStation State of Play, the Flash trailer, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, HBO's The Last of Us, and more. So first, we're going to dive into our recent activities really quick. I'll go first, obviously, just because don't got a whole lot going on. I have been watching Chainsaw Man, but I still need to watch the final episode before I could give my full thoughts and opinions on it. But I guess just to sum up that show, if you haven't watched it yet, you should definitely check it out, especially if you like shonen. It is definitely on the much more rated R side of things, so keep that in mind, but it is very, very good. The new Fortnite stuff, they recently updated with like a bunch of new guns and different perks. They have the Captain America skin featuring Sam Wilson, so I bought that as well.
I bought it too.
I was like, shit, I don't have Steve Rogers Captain America, but shit, you know what? It's Black History Month. Fuck it, I'll buy I'll buy this Captain America skin. So, just I've been having fun with Fortnite. Actually, I've been having a lot more fun with it because me and Emma, my girlfriend, were learning Apex, and we usually get Louis or James to play with us. My neighbors. So when we have them in like the trios environment, it is pretty funny because it's literally just me and her arguing, and then Louis just chilling. And then one time James was just like coaching us, like trying to help Louis play the game, and that was pretty good for us because obviously we're still learning how the game works and things like that. And yeah, it is very overwhelming compared to Fortnite because you have like inventory management, like actual inventory management because of like the different level backpacks, the amount of attachments you can get for your guns and stuff like that. Like there's a lot more going on in Apex, and there is definitely a learning curve to it. And, you know, from Fortnite to that, it's definitely like a huge gap, but definitely a lot of fun. I am enjoying it a lot more as I play it, along with Overwatch, surprisingly. But yeah, I've just been playing those multiplayer games, and yeah, you know, Fortnite's still Fortnite.
Yeah, I guess with the Overwatch stuff, because I didn't talk about it last time. I mean, I haven't actually been playing that much of this season. I mean, I still want that Kiriko skin. Like, that's the only reason why I'm like, if they stop doing a mythic I don't care about, then I probably won't bother. But I like Kiriko, so I'm going to get it. I think this season, it wasn't too crazy, just added a new map. And it's okay. I only played it like 3 times, the Antarctica map.
Yeah.
There's a cute penguins, and that's cute. I do think as like a King of the Hill map or control map, whatever, I feel like the point is like very far away from where you spawn. Like you gotta walk quite a way, at least in one of them. Like, and there's like a lot of different pathways to go through. Like it's pretty confusing, but I have to play more of it before I really what I think about it. But yeah, it's okay. But since there's no new hero, it's not as exciting since every other season is supposed to be a new hero. So I'm sure next season it's probably gonna be more exciting. But yeah, besides that, I also did do that dating sim thing they had.
Oh, okay.
I did the Mercy one, and I'm like, yeah, honestly, it was pretty funny. It was really self-aware and stuff. Like I know meta humor is kind of, like drawn out at this point.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't like it, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and I got to date Mercy, best girl in that game. So 10 out of 10. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It's probably the most effort I felt they put in an event so far, so that was nice. But anyway, for things I was actually doing, I finally finished Fire Emblem Engage, and it was really good. I really enjoyed the game. Like I said 1,000 times. I think the story is whatever. I think it gets a lot better towards the middle, and then at the end, it really plot dumps you with like everything. I really felt like the pacing was really off in terms of like storytelling. Like I felt like a lot of the stuff could have been easier like throughout the story and stuff, because I felt like the first half of the game, like not a lot is really happening, and it feels like very generic. And I felt like a lot of like this like exposition and stuff could have been done better if it was like tossed in between all that stuff. But whatever. I think the game really shines with the gameplay and stuff, because I thought it was really good. Like, I think it's probably the best Fire Emblem gameplay I personally played. And I think a big part of that is the maps were all really fun and creative. I felt like, even though I love Three Houses more, I felt like the maps were very basic. Like a lot of them were just kind of flat maps where you just take your units and you like kill them. Like there's some interesting stuff going on, but it's not really like, it's about what do you expect from a Fire Emblem game. I feel like this game really challenge you to think about each map in a different way, where it's like some different mechanics happening or whatever, like people are like firing cannons at you and some other bullshit. Like there's a lot of fun stuff that happens, and it really makes you think about the Fire Emblem gameplay and sort of like how I'm going to solve this map as like sort of like a big puzzle or whatever. And it kept the game really engaging the whole time. Well, all right, I didn't mean for that to be fun. But yeah, no, honestly, it was a really fun time. I really enjoyed myself with Fire Emblem Engage. And, you know, if you don't really care too much about like the plot or whatever about Fire Emblem games and stuff, and you care more about just the actual gameplay, then this is perfect for you. I still feel like there could be a better blend of the two, but it was still really good. I really enjoyed my time with Fire Emblem Engage. And there was a lot more content than I thought. You know, it took me like 60 hours to beat the whole fucking thing. So it took a while. It took me like a month. But yeah, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. Next, I talked about this last time. I played the demo of it. But now I bought the full game, Theatrhythm. This is the sort of Final Fantasy rhythm game. And like I said before, I don't really play rhythm games that much. But I think this game really does a good job sort of bringing in people that are not great at rhythm games. One, because there's like a ton of accessibility options, so you could have it like, obviously you could pick your difficulty options. You know, there's like normal, expert, ultimate, and like supreme or whatever. I could do the second level difficulty pretty well now, but the last two are way too fast for me. You know, I've never been, like I said, I've never really been a rhythm game player, so like that sort of stuff is a little too much for me. But I'm learning. I'm hoping to do the next difficulty level. But anyway, I think what makes this game really cool is sort of like the meta progression, where you still have, you know, since it's based off Final Fantasy, you have a bunch of different characters you can level up and stuff. And yeah, that doesn't really matter for the rhythm game part of the game. Like, you can still get perfect scores and S ranks and perfect chains and stuff. Like, you don't really need to worry about any of that RPG stuff you don't want to. But each song has like a quest and stuff. So, and those quests kind of require you to have specific builds of characters and like abilities and stuff. So you get that cool sort of addicting rhythm game gameplay with that sort of meta progression with RPG stuff, so you can make like a cool, like, good party to deal with these quests and bosses and stuff. And I really think it blends together really well, because while the gameplay is still always about the rhythm game, because that's the strongest part of the game, I think having that sort of extra, like, I guess flavoring, it really helps the game make it even more addicting. I think it's super great, and I can see why people really like this series from the 3DS. So yeah, and there's so many songs. There's like 375 songs or something ridiculous. Like, there's a lot of content in this game. So yeah, if you like good rhythm games, or like you just like Final Fantasy music like I do, I definitely think it's worth the buy. There's a lot of DLC too and stuff, but you know, whatever. Rhythm games always pretty bad with DLC, but I think the base package is like well worth the money. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that game as well. And then I played the Dead Space remake because I've been hearing a lot of good things about it. I beat it. It's not too long. It's like it took me like 15 hours, which isn't long for me. I know other people, it's like, oh, that's a whole game for me. But nah, like usually I'm used to like 60-hour games. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so the Dead Space remake, I never played the original one before, but again, I heard so many good things about it. My brother's a huge fan of this series, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play it. And yeah, it was really good. You know, I can't talk about what the changes were, because I never played the original, but as just a horror game, or just like a survival like horror game, I thought it was really good. You know, I think the atmosphere was really good. I think that's what really makes me like really impressed with it. Like, it really felt like I was playing like an Alien game or something. Like, I know Alien Isolation is a thing, but just like moving around the ship, it being like the lights flickering everywhere, you could hear like necromorphs and the vents and shit. Like, you hear like whispering in your ears. Like, it was really creepy. The actual gameplay was really fun too, which is cool, because, you know, with the necromorphs, you can't just shoot them in the head. That's like the whole point. You're supposed to shoot their limbs off and stuff. So it really makes for some really interesting battles and stuff. The enemy variety was really good as well, which is something I didn't expect. Like, they were introducing a new enemy type basically every chapter until like chapter 9, and there's only 12 chapters. So you know, I was really impressed with just like the actual gameplay part of it. Same thing when I played Last of Us, where I'm like, oh, this game is actually fun. Like, you know, like I expected it to like sort of, you know, have that atmosphere and like the scares and stuff, but like actually playing through the game was a lot of fun as well. You know, I think the upgrade systems and progression is really fun. And yeah, by the end of the game, it's not that scary because you're very strong. Like, you have a lot of crazy weapons, which is something I also like about this game. Like, a lot of the weapons aren't like traditional weapons. A lot of them are like engineering weapons, like stuff you just find like an engineer uses. Like, your main gun is like a welding tool or whatever. And I think that's really cool to really sell the fact that, you know, the main character isn't like a soldier or whatever. He's just like an engineer that was sent here to fix the ship, but then everything went to shit. And a lot of your objectives are like fixing the ship and stuff. So I don't know, it really gives you that like, yeah, this dude isn't really meant for this, but he's kind of thrown into it. So, but yeah, overall it was a really great game. Again, I don't know how I mean, from what I was reading and what people were telling me, like it's just better than the original. So I'm just gonna take their word from it. I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to maybe I do need to play like the Resident Evil games now that I've played this. Those have been in my backlog for a long time. But yeah, if you like a good horror game or just like if you like Resident Evil 4 and stuff, like I think this is be right up your alley. So yeah, great game. I'm really glad I decided to give it a chance.
All right, so now we're going to get into some gaming news before we get into some entertainment and movie news. So first up, we got Microsoft committing to bringing Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles for the next 10 years. So obviously this was like pretty big news to anyone that has not been following the court cases of what's going on with Microsoft and Activision and all that stuff. So it's like, wow, like, are they really doing this? And it's like, yes and no. Like, obviously they are going to commit to this, but at the same time, they're doing it because of the lawsuits and the antitrust stuff that's going on between the Microsoft deal and Activision. So them signing this and being like, hey, we're going to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles for the next 10 years, the same day as Xbox consoles, is them being like, we're trying to be friendly. We're trying to show that we are not going to lock Call of Duty behind Xbox kind of thing. So I think that, yeah, this is a good thing, but at the same time, we're talking about Nintendo consoles here. They're not necessarily the most built for Call of Duty games, especially if you've seen over the years, especially on the Wii, when those games were going over onto the Wii and Wii U, they were not the greatest ports. They were not the greatest sort of system sellers, but now we're in the day and age of cross platforming of online games. So I wonder how that's actually going to work, especially when you have a Nintendo Switch player versus a Xbox Series X or even PS5 player.
Yeah, it's like when you play Fortnite, it's like a mobile player. I don't know if they still do that, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's a Switch player right there. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a nice gesture, like you said, but like I don't know, like what, like the Switch audience is very different from like the PlayStation / Xbox audience. Like I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that buy a Switch aren't gonna buy Call of Duty, at least in my opinion. Like, I remember back in the Wii days, there was like the different versions of Call of Duty, right? Like, they were like on-rail shooters or something. Like, it was weird. Obviously, they won't do that now. But yeah, I wonder how this is actually going to work. And like you said, it's more of just a thing where it's like, yeah, we're like, see, like, we're nice. We're giving away our like license or whatever. Like, we're being nice. See, don't we want the acquisition still, so please let us have it. So it kind of just screams that to me than anything else, you know?
Yeah, and I believe Smith said that there is a similar deal if Sony wants to sign, according to this article. So obviously they're being like, hey, like if PlayStation wants in, they can. We don't know the details of that deal. I'm sure it's going to be very different from what they signed with Nintendo, just because PlayStation is a much bigger competitor within the gaming space as a whole. Most people have an Xbox or a PlayStation. Obviously, people do have Nintendo Switches, much more younger audiences. And a lot of the games that come to the Switch are either really bad or they come much later and they're still bad. So having this sort of, competition between Call of Duty, it's really about Xbox and PlayStation. Like having, now that they're committed to bringing it to Nintendo consoles is going to be interesting, because we've already seen what happened in the past with the franchise on Wii and Wii U, and that didn't last long. And obviously, they kind of have to spend the next 10 years, I guess like 10 or so games, to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo Switch and so on. Yeah,
I just wonder if it's just like, because I remember when this headline was going around, people were thinking it was like all Microsoft exclusives are going to be on everything else. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're going to be that nice about it. Like, they still need, I think Microsoft is in a really weird position where it's like they need exclusives, but like technically they're still bigger than Nintendo and Sony in terms of like just like company size.
Yeah.
So like they can't really like be like, oh, we're like the smaller guy here, because they're not. But like in terms of the gaming division, they are. So it's like this really weird thing. And most of their like two of the biggest like Microsoft exclusives are Halo and Gears of War. And like Halo hasn't been really doing so well. And Gears, I don't know where Gears went. Like, it hasn't really been a new one in a while. So yeah, I feel like, this is sort of the biggest compromise they could do. Like, I don't really see them bringing anything else over, because it's like it would just hurt them in the end. Like, I don't even know if this acquisition is even going to happen anymore. I feel like there's too many like sort of like eyes on it now, and like I don't know, Microsoft could really like get away with it at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to it, and they sort of have to go around certain things, and this is obviously the first step of many within the public eye that we know of them being like, hey, we're trying to be nice, we're trying to be friendly, we're Xbox, we got Game Pass and it's also on PC and everything like that. But I think that them having on top of Activision and Blizzard and everything like that, they already have Bethesda and obviously a bunch of other smaller studios under their belt. So, this acquisition may be a little bit too much and may actually be a monopoly for the industry that we may not actually see until Xbox decides to, be the bad guy one day and just, make everything blocked off for Xbox consoles, which will likely hurt them. But obviously, giving them that power to begin with is not going to be a good idea. So whether or not this acquisition actually does go through within the eyes of the courts and the eyes of the sort of antitrust stuff, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's really technical, and we're not. Like I said, I think I said last time, I'm not smart enough for this. So wherever the lawyer people say, I guess that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. So the next sort of big gaming news was the state of play that happened yesterday, and to show a bunch of stuff. So the main focus of it were apparently the VR games and the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. And there was some other stuff in there as well. So obviously the PSVR 2 stuff, to show some games on it. It looks pretty cool, like Call of the Mountain looks pretty cool. Some other VR games. The only issue with some of the, with a lot of VR games is, a lot of them just feel like, oh, here's the gun, and then you could you could go behind cover and do this. Isn't that cool? And yeah, I guess it's pretty cool, but I feel like VR is it still feels pretty gimmicky, I guess. Like I know like a lot of people that has experienced VR said it doesn't, and it really does feel super immersive and stuff. And I probably will get a PSVR 2, like if there were more exclusives, like if there were more like big Sony exclusives.
It's like $600.
Yeah, I know, it's like $550. And it's a lot. Like the only way I would buy it is like my brother's like, yeah, we could like split it. Like that's probably how we would do it. But it's still a lot of money. Plus on top of needing a PS5 plus the games, which are like $60 as well.
And the space for it.
And the space as well, because it's you need obviously a lot of space. It's wired as well, I think. Like it's still a wired headset. So yeah, it's like a lot. But if they can make it work, they can make it work. But I don't know, man. Like I feel like the VR 1 came out and Sony kind of just dropped it, and then that's kind of it. They were like, we made it, and then nothing else happened. So
yeah,
I'm gonna need I need to see more support for this thing before I take the plunge with it.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people's fear is. You're pretty much buying a whole other PS5 attachment for your PS5, and obviously you get to experience all these great games that are in VR. And no offense to the developers, but for the most part within this presentation, there was a lot of just like first-person shooter kind of games. And I know that Super Hot, that was like a really big game that really made the jump to VR, and it looks like that a lot of these are sort of just like iterations of that from like the first couple of ones, anyways. Not to say that they're bad, but that's just sort of like what I got the vibe from. But yeah, VR is still very, very new. People are jumping into it every single day more and more, whether it's with the Oculus or whatever other headset there is. Obviously, the PlayStation VR may be the most accessible one, just because with PC and streaming VR, you obviously need really, really good specs. And if you don't have the right parts for it, you're going to be sort of like troubleshooting for a while. But with this, you sort of just need $1,000. You get the PS5, you get the PS VR 2, and then you buy whatever games for it, and that's about it. You just need to get the space, and you're all set to go. But with everything that's on PC, just like with PC gaming in general, you sort of need to do some troubleshooting here and there, depending on what parts you have or what parts you need, etc. But yeah, would I buy this PSVR 2? Maybe, possibly, if I had the right money for it and the right time. But obviously it is a huge commitment. I think, like you said, Damian, more support for it is something that people are eager to see. And if these games don't do well, then support's obviously going to fall off.
Yeah. Hey, man, if there's like a Ratchet and Clank spinoff there, I'll buy it.
I will never forget PlayStation Heroes on the Move for the PlayStation Move.
Okay, I didn't buy that.
Yeah, no one bought that. I was like, I want this so bad, and then I was like, the game's actually bad. I don't know if I want it anymore.
Yeah, that sucks. Like, just give me a new Sly and Jack game, and then we'll be fine.
But the other stuff, before we get into the Suicide Squad, some of the games that obviously stood out to me, the one that was like a clear standout was the Naruto Boruto game, because I was just like, they're still trying to make these. Okay, interesting.
Well, apparently it's like all of them. Right?
Yeah,
It's like
so they've done like a bunch of like re-releases, and I think that they recently did like a remaster of some sort of Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 1, which was on the PlayStation 3 for PS4 and Xbox One or whatever. And like I've tried to look for that collector's edition on like eBay and stuff. It's like $100, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that much for these games. So it looks like that they're just re-releasing it again as like one package, along with some Boruto stuff, which is kind of cool. I wonder how much they're gonna really put into this, because from my experience, because the last one that they did as like a like compilation was like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Generations, which was on the PS3 and Xbox 360, where it was pretty much just like slideshows for like a lot of the cutscenes, and I was like, I don't know if I really like this, you know, like I really do like when in like Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, 3, and 4, where like you have like these big like CG cutscenes and things like that. Obviously costs a lot more money, and when you're doing a compilation like this, I'm expecting those sort of slideshow cutscenes again, unfortunately. But if we can get like, heck, even like scenes from the anime, like that would be better than, you know, the pictures.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm pretty interested in this because, you know, obviously I don't know jack shit about Naruto, but I do think these games are fun. Like, because I played it in your house, I'm like, yeah, they're really fun games. And, you know, if I could like sort of like get a gist of the story by playing through the story mode, like, yeah, why not? Because I'm never gonna watch all like a bajillion hours of Naruto to like understand stuff, even though I kind of want to. So I think like this game, like I know a lot of people like they know everything about Dragon Ball from like the Budokai games, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm sure like the same could be said with Naruto and stuff. So like maybe I'll give it a shot if it's like, you know, well priced and like, you know, like you said, like the presentation is more than just slideshows, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's just how I got into Naruto initially. I played the PS2 games, and what's it called? A lot of these games, they normally drop in price like very significantly, like 3 months after they come out. So probably wait until that happens, because I'm sure the same thing happened with the Demon Slayer game that recently came out, which was pretty good, made by the same developers, CyberConnect 2. So I wonder how this collection's gonna pan out.
All right, and then we have the Capcom stuff. Yeah, Street Fighter 6 looked really good. I'm not a fighting game player at all, but I do like to dabble in them sometimes. You know, I really like Soul Calibur 6 was really good. I really like Guilty Gear, like the new one. So yeah, Street Fighter 6 has really interested me in terms of like sort of, it's like, you know, they're putting more effort into the single player, and I think like the game just looks fantastic. Like it looks like they're putting a lot more love into it than Street Fighter 5. Like I think the game looks great. You know, Zangief was here. I think Lily is a new person. I think she's a new character, and Cammy, obviously everyone's simping over Cammy and stuff as well. But yeah, it looks really good. I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, I suck ass at Street Fighter because I played 4 when that came out, and I just got my ass kicked the whole time. But yeah, this is looking really good. You know, hopefully Capcom can really land it, because Capcom has been doing really good and basically everywhere else but their fighting games. Like you know, Marvel versus Capcom Infinite was really bad, and then you know, Street Fighter 5 had so many issues. So if they could really bring it back with this game, I think Capcom would be like really good. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Capcom has slowly been chipping their way back into, I guess, like the gaming space, especially with these Resident Evil games. And I think that them releasing a brand new Street Fighter game is going to be exciting for the Street Fighter players, especially because they've been playing Street Fighter 5 for a while, just like with every other previous Street Fighter game. And I think that with the new Resident Evil remakes that they just keep redoing, remasters, whatever you want to call them, you know, it's something to look forward to, especially as a way to get more people into the Resident Evil series. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I tried to buy Resident Evil 2 remake when it came out. I'm not good at them. By far, I'm not that good. I was scared shitless playing it though. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But that's a game that I definitely want to jump back into, because I've heard a lot of good things about the other remakes after. I know Resident Evil 3 was a little iffy, but you know, if they keep going at it and they keep, you know, learning from their mistakes and actually taking their time with these remakes, and not just as like, you know, money grabs kind of thing, I think that they'll do well.
Yeah, because I know RE4 remake is like a lot of people are looking really forward to it, and from all the gameplay they're showing, it looks really good. And it seems like, you know, a lot of people were scared it was going to lose its campiness and stuff, but it still looks like they're keeping a lot of campiness. I think this newest trailer was really meant for those people. It's still pretty silly, so like don't worry about it. So I know a lot of people were afraid it would get too serious, but no, it looks like it's gonna be just as silly. And I really wonder if this is where they stop, or they're gonna like remake Resident Evil 5. Like I feel like that one feels a little too new still, but I don't know. Maybe it's been over 10 years, I think. My perception of time has been getting really screwy. Like I just got the Kirby, the new Kirby remake or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I feel like I just played Return to Dreamland. But Return to Dreamland was like over 10 years ago, so I'm like, oh. Like, I'm pretty sure Superstar Ultra was made about the same time frame, but that felt like more. It just felt older. I don't know. It's weird. So yeah.
But Suicide Squad killed the Justice League.
Squad,
so this was obviously like the biggest thing that they were advertising for this event, and this is something that they spent, I think, like a good third of the show on towards the end. So they showed like 5 to 6 minutes of gameplay, and then they went into further detail on the game's story and sort of everything like that. So just know that this takes place within the Batman Arkham universe. This takes place 5 years after, and they wanted to give the players a different perspective on the world from the villain side. And they have Brainiac, I believe, is the main villain that sort of comes down and takes control of the Justice League, and the only way to win is to kill them all. So the gameplay itself, I was actually kind of impressed with it. I'm gonna be honest. I was having fun watching it. I was like, wow, like this looks like a lot of fun. Just like flying around, shooting people. Maybe that's just like my simple brain working at it, just because I like those sort of like action adventure games where you just like shoot people, jump around, kill hordes of enemies kind of thing. But obviously, it is a live service game. You always have to be online, even when you're playing solo. So battle pass, but you can play with up to 4 people, 3 other people by your side. So I think that is like one of the biggest selling points on why this game is going to be very successful if it actually functions well and actually is worthwhile as like a live service kind of game. Because they were talking about like the cosmetics and like the different attachments, and I'm just kind of like, do these actually like matter? Like, will they actually make the gameplay better, or are they just like, oh, like my gun looks cooler, or like, oh, like Harley Quinn can look a little different or whatever kind of thing,
Right. Like I agree with you. Like I think like graphically, like and stuff, and like just how the movement looks really fun as well. I do feel like the gameplay looks fine. Like it's that shooting stuff, like 4-player shoot, like co-op stuff. I just feel like they probably aren't using the characters to their full ability. Like Deadshot makes sense because he's just supposed to shoot a bunch of weapons. I feel like King Shark is just kind of like, oh, I'm still using guns. Like,
yeah.
It shows them doing like some melee stuff, but I feel like they're not really using like the villains and their full potential. At least I think like Captain Boomerang, I didn't see him, like he didn't throw any boomerangs. like he does some abilities with it, but it's like I feel like the characters should probably be showing more of their abilities than they are, than just using like, oh, every character could use like SMGs and stuff. Like I feel like King Shark should probably just be limited to like miniguns and stuff, like not just like, oh, you can use whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. I know that's a way just to like sort of like, have more builds or whatever for like that side of the game. Yeah. But it still feels a little weird. At least with Avengers, like each character did feel like the hero they were supposed to be. This one feels like it was a little too samey with everyone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in terms of like plot, I think like the story looks pretty interesting. Like I don't know what, like it looks pretty cool. And I just wonder how they're gonna evolve sort of the game throughout the years if it lasts that long. Since like you said, it is a live service game with a battle pass and gear progression and stuff. Like are there gonna be raids? Are there gonna be like they said there was gonna be new characters and stuff, but it seems like the game story mode is very much based on these characters. Like they're not gonna re-record every cutscene with a new character or whatever. So those characters probably gonna have their own separate thing. Like I just wonder how the future of this game is gonna be, and if the content we're getting now is even worth the $60 price tag or $70. I don't know how much it is, but yeah, all those things are kind of concerning with these sort of live service games because you don't really know what you're really getting yourself into.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the release date, May 26, and I'm very excited for it just because that's around when I graduate, so I can not give a fuck about anything and just play this game and actually like really dive into it and really see how I like it or how I don't like it, because like this is definitely a lot of people's most anticipated game of the year just because this is Rocksteady's like newest and biggest project that they've been working on for a while now. And I think that for me myself, I don't play a lot of live service games, so I think that my perspective on it would be very interesting and very different. But like you said, I was definitely reading like IGN comments and just going through the comment section to see like what other people were thinking about it, because I think that that's when you really get like the the very good perspective of like what other people really think, because I was definitely watching it and be like, everyone really is just like shooting guns. I mean, like it looks fun, it looks cool, but I'm like, I don't know if there's a lot of like variety, and that was definitely something that people were complaining about, where it was like, this feels stale, like it looks, very samey. It doesn't feel like something that is worth however many years that they were working on it, and I feel like that when the game does come out, I'm sure that it'll show either people that, like this is exactly what they expected, or it may even surprise them.
Yeah, like I just felt like at the end they said all the buzzwords that no one wants to hear at the moment, like games as a service, cosmetics, microtransactions, battle passes was a big one everyone got really mad at.
Yeah,
and then later on, it was shown that you have to have an internet connection the whole time, even if you're playing solo. Like I think it just came out at the wrong time where everyone's really fatigued of these type of systems, and I feel like that's usually how gaming goes. Like usually, like someone figures it out, something like open world games, and then everyone sort of dogpiles on it until it's overdone, and then they move on to the next thing because no one else likes it anymore. It's not a new thing. Like people like to complain a lot about modern gaming. I'm like, dude, this is like trends like this have always been happening. Like I remember during the 360 days, everyone was tired of the muddy gray first-person shooters everywhere, and then everything became overly colorful, and then everyone hated that now. So it's like that's just how things work. It's fine. So anyway, like if Rocksteady could really nail it, like if the campaign is good enough to play through it and like it's fun enough and stuff, I think that's a win. Honestly, like I think that's good enough. Even if the game's like shuts down or something, like there won't be no new content anymore. As long as the main story and stuff is good, then I think that'll be enough to like justify the purchase, I guess.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are hesitant on this game just because of how much they're sort of rolling back the years in a sense, where it's like, okay, like we're doing a live service game, even though the game can be played only solo, but you have to be online at all times so you can get those live service features and stuff like that. And I think that really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, including myself, because it's like we were talking about this stuff like years and years ago, where it was like, always having to be online. That was a big thing with the PS4 and the Xbox One before they came out. It was like used games, like DRM and shit like that, where it was like, are used games even going to be a thing anymore? And it was like, yeah, they are, because they obviously saw what was going on. And I think that Microsoft and Xbox were the first ones to be like, yeah, you always have to be online. Used games aren't going to be a thing anymore with our console. And then PlayStation were like, no, it is. And then they effectively won the entire generation off of that one thing that they did before the consoles even came out. And now we're sort of going back to that time where it's like, yeah, this is a live service game. It's understandable that it has to be played online when you're playing multiplayer, but I feel like for single player, like there should be like an outlet for people to just play it by itself, because we live in America, and a lot of places in America have really dog shit internet, and I don't know how well that's going to handle, especially within those areas. I think me and you are lucky enough to live somewhere where our internet isn't complete ass, but I know that there's a lot of people, especially during the pandemic, you saw that with a lot of people, going to school and working from home, where it was like, our internet is fucking really, really bad. They notice, and like there's nowhere else to really get internet from. There's only one provider within the area, which happens a lot more often than you think. So how this game's going to handle that sort of online only aspect and everything like that, there's a lot riding on this game, especially with the early reviews. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully Rocksteady could like sort of like nail it, because I think Gotham Knights left kind of a bad taste in some people's mouths. Like it was an okay game, people enjoyed it enough, but it really wasn't what people wanted. And now to see like Rocksteady, like actual Rocksteady making this game, is like, oh, it's like more of that. So yeah, it hasn't, like Gotham Knights didn't really prove itself to like make this formula work. So we'll see if Suicide Squad can. Again, like Avengers failed, Gotham Knights didn't do so well, so we'll see how this one does. But I'm not really seeing a sort of a bright future for it, but hopefully it is. So yeah.
All right, so we're moving on into the entertainment / movie news. So first up, Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, and Frozen 3 are apparently in the works at Disney. So I think that Zootopia 2 is the only one I'm really excited for. Like I fucking love Toy Story. Like Toy Story is my childhood. That is my shit. But I feel like Toy Story 3 ended off on a very good note, and then Toy Story 4 ended off on a different note. And I get what they were doing with Toy Story 4. I actually do kind of like that movie just because I'm a huge Toy Story like fanboy. But I feel like that they're sort of dragging on that story And when it comes to Frozen, I'm just like, I'm fucking over it. I don't know. Like I watched Frozen 2 in theaters, and I really felt nothing. Like I watched that movie, and I was like, all right, yeah, saw Frozen 2. That's about it.
Yeah, I basically feel the same way. I actually liked Toy Story 4 more than 3. I think I'm a weird one for that opinion because not a lot of people like 3 more than 4, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I also agree with you. It's like you can't stretch this more than it should at this point. I really feel like they should just like have a new cast of toys. Like it shouldn't be called Toy Story 5 at this point. Just have like a new generation of toys, even if it's not as good. Like I feel like you're really dragging Woody and Buzz in the mud now. You know, like we're gonna need some new like toys or something because you can't really do anything anymore. Like I feel like Woody have like 40 character arcs at this point. Like, it's okay. You can let it go.
Yeah.
Speaking of let it go, like Frozen have always been like whatever. Like, you know, Frozen 1 was fine. Frozen 2 was like you said, very like forgettable. Like I don't remember anything that happened in that movie. I like that one song. I like Into the Unknown. I think that's a fun song.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like I don't really remember anything else about that movie. And Zootopia 2, like you said, that's really cool. I really like Zootopia 1 a lot. It's probably my favorite sort of modern Disney series they got going on right now. You know, I sort of count like the new shit from like Tangled onward is when, you know, when they started using CG. I think Zootopia is definitely my favorite one. So seeing that get a sequel finally is pretty exciting. But the other two, I'm whatever about.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Toy Story, obviously like they want to make like more toys and they want to reprint them and make more money. But I think that they realized that with Lightyear, after they made that movie, which like in my opinion, it was fine for like the first like half of it. And then like the twist came in because in every single Disney and Pixar movie, there's always like that twist. And I'm not going to spoil what that twist is, but that twist was fucking dog shit. I was literally sitting in the theaters watching that twist happen. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what is going on here? Like, it really made like not a lot of sense. Like they were trying to like explain it to me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm still not buying it. So I think they realized that they can't do like those kinds of spin-offs. Cause I'm sure if Lightyear did well, they probably would have done a sequel. But it obviously didn't do that well in the eyes of audiences. So they're like, I'd fuck it. We're just gonna have to go back to a Toy Story again. So we'll see what happens in this one. I'm obviously gonna watch it just because I love Toy Story and I want to see what they do with these characters. But I think that after this one, they gotta stop it. And I think the reason why people were very excited for Toy Story 3 was because there was such a big time gap between 2 and 3. Like it was like fucking years. And you know, between 3 and 4, it was not as long, but it was still like a while for people to be like, all right, yeah, I guess we'll see what they're doing with Bonnie and shit. And then it was like, oh, okay, that's sort of like where they went with it. And you know, I do like Toy Story 4. I do like what they did to like flesh out parts of the story, but I do see why people really didn't like it and why they're very upset about Toy Story 5.
Yeah, I just feel like, we definitely don't need a Toy Story 5. We might continue Toy Story, make it like a reboot or something. Like I feel like we can't keep using Woody and Buzz. Like, you know, like, let them die. It's okay.
It's okay to let it go.
Let it go. All right. So speaking of that, we got Spider-Man Noir live action series was ordered by Amazon. That's really cool. You know, I think Spider-Man Noir has been a really cool sort of like variant of Spider-Man. You know, obviously I think we were both exposed to it from frickin' what's that game? Shadow Dimensions.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Shadow Dimensions were really open up. Like, this is really cool. And then, you know, I know a lot more people were exposed to him in Spider-Verse. You know, I thought like Nicolas Cage did a really good job with him. It was a really fun time to see that. And honestly, I do think it would work as a series. You know, I mean, it would just be a noir, but it's Spider-Man. So
yeah,
that's a pretty cool sort of setting right there. And obviously Spider-Man. So if it's good, I'll watch it. So yeah, there's a lot of cool material you could use for that. And you can have like all these Spider-Man villains as sort of like more, you know, gritty mobster type deals. Obviously there's very mobster type people in Spider-Man, but you know, maybe you can have like a mobster Green Goblin or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this show is the fact that the main character will not be Peter Parker. I think that is something that a lot of people were not really sort of keen on, because obviously like it is just Peter Parker but set within the 1920s during like the Great Depression kind of thing. And I've read the original Spider-Man Noir comic because they did like an omnibus of it, because if you try to get like the original comics in the original paperback, forget it, it's like so much fucking money. So I'm glad that they reprinted them. So I read those original stories and I was like, okay, yeah, like I can see where they were trying to go with this character. And I read the more recent one, and I don't know why, but every single like more like modern Marvel comic, like it starts off normal. And then it like goes like a really weird route, like towards like the fourth and fifth issue. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And that's exactly what happened here. And it's sort of just like a thing within like the comic books where like they use them as a way to see if like it could work as like a movie or like a TV show or something like that. Cause like that's just what they're trying to adapt these days, because obviously it makes more sense if you try within a comic book and people like it, and then it's like, okay, now we can like make it into a TV show or a movie and make even more money off of it. But it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how I exactly feel about that, but I think that them not having Peter Parker as like the main character is going to be very interesting. I wonder how they're going to spin it around, because obviously like there's many different versions of Spider-Man out there, as we're going to see within Across the Spider-Verse. But having the show along with Silk Spider Society is going to be very cool. Having these, I guess, like Amazon Spider-Man shows is going to be like its own like little universe. I don't know what the fuck they're doing here, but I'm all for it.
Why everything has to be a universe. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully they're good. More Spider-Man stuff is always nice. And yeah, I mean, this year we're going to have a lot of Spider-Man stuff as well with the game and Spider-Verse 2. So looking good for Spider-Man,
All right, so next bit of news is probably the biggest superhero trailer that came out during the Super Bowl, which was The Flash, because obviously this movie has been in sort of development hell for a good while. So the fact that we are finally getting a trailer for it, especially during the Super Bowl on Super Bowl day, is very, very cool. And fuck it, man, I'll be honest, this trailer looked really, really dope. Like, I was actually like kind of excited to go and see this movie, but at the same time I'm sort of like battling with myself, like, should I really go and see it? And then we go back into the debate that we had last episode, where it was like about like Hogwarts Legacy. Like, it's not just like Ezra Miller that's like worked on this film, like there's a bunch of other actors and shit like that. But we obviously have to remind ourselves of that. Like, he's a really bad guy. He did a lot of really bad shit. So how they're adapting,
make him reverse Flash,
how they're doing this Flashpoint story is going to be very interesting, because obviously this is like them adapting that story from the comics, but at the same time they're sort of just like bringing in a bunch of different versions of Batman, including Michael Keaton's Batman, which is very, very cool. I have not watched those movies yet, but I definitely want to see them before this one if I decide to go see it. Still debating with myself of whether or not I'll go and watch it in theaters, but if it goes on Blu-ray or whatever, obviously I'll probably buy it then and watch it like that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the movie looks cool. Being excited for this movie is nothing that should make you feel bad, because it, like, honestly, what they're setting up and sort of like what the story is going to be, it does seem like living up to what a lot of the people inside of DC are saying. James Gunn being like, this is one of the best superhero movies ever, and you know what, this trailer low-key kind of sold me on that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why James Gunn was so like, kept saying like, just cancel it or whatever. Like, maybe it's not worth it. Ain't worth it. But seeing it now, I can see why. Obviously, it's an important plot point, because probably Flashpoint is going to be a big thing that resets the DCU in general. Like, because it's a nice convenient plot point to have, and be like, hey, let's just press the reset button while to create like the James Gunn verse now. Plus, it just looks pretty good. Like, I won't lie, it looks pretty good. Hopefully they can nail it. I don't know a lot about the Flash in general. I just know about Flashpoint and like Reverse Flash and stuff like that, because my brother told me about it from the show. And I know the show goes crazy later. But from like the first season stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, from what I'm seeing, it looks good. I know the guy, Flash himself, like the actor, like we said, crazy person, done a lot of weird stuff. But if this movie is good, then that's great. I think they're really sort of going crazy with the whole Flashpoint idea of all the different Batmans, and there's like, I think that was a Supergirl, I think, as well. Like,
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a lot of like fan service type stuff. So yeah, and hopefully this could sort of be a good, I guess, new starting point for the DCU, and we could see how James Gunn sort of evolves this to be something better than what it's been trying to do. Because, man, like we said before, the DCU has been just a mess. So hopefully James Gunn knows what he's doing. Hopefully this movie really does put the DCU in the right foot now, because it looks like it is. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. Like you said, I don't know if I'll watch it in theaters. Maybe I will. Depends. Maybe my brother wants to see it, so we'll probably see it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll see.
Depending on how reviews are and how box office numbers are, I'm sure that this is going to be like the biggest DC movie out there. If it's like actually as good as we see it in this trailer and how you know, critics and obviously general audiences perceive it, because at that point it's like, hey, fuck it. Is my $10 really going to make a difference? I'm not sure. Probably not. So, but yeah, you know, seeing DC win is obviously a good thing because you want competition within the comic book movie scene, because, you know, Damian's guilty of it. He only goes to theaters to watch these fucking Marvel films. So
I'm very guilty. I only watch Marvel movies and like video game adaptations apparently. So yeah, there you go. I am part of the issue.
But you know, this movie does look pretty good, and it looks like it's calling back a lot of the stuff that they've been building up for the past couple of years with, like, I guess, like the Snyder stuff and whatnot. So, you know, this being like that conclusion to everything obviously makes sense as to why they don't want to cancel it necessarily. And I'm sure that they spent a good chunk of change just getting Michael Keaton and everything like that. And we've already seen like Funko Pops, and obviously there's probably going to be a bunch of merchandise for this movie. And yeah, so trailer looks good. Whether or not we're going to see it in theaters is definitely up in the air, but it definitely looks exciting.
All right, and next, another trailer that looks really good to me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 trailer. I'm very excited for this movie. I mean, I love the Guardians. You know, I love both movies. I mean, Infinity War was basically Guardians 2.5 as well, because it was like a lot. They were everywhere in that movie. And, you know, I like the holiday special well enough as well. And, you know, sort of them having their own little conclusion to their story arc is always nice. You know, that's why I like, you know, No Way Home. Yeah, No Way Home I liked a lot, just because it felt like a nice conclusion / new beginning for this Spider-Man, and this sort of feels like a conclusion for the Guardians, since James Gunn is obviously like at DC now. And yeah, this trailer, like you know, it looks more serious. Like obviously there's still jokes and stuff because MCU, you know, that's sort of how it works. But I feel like the tone definitely feels like, yeah, this is like ending all their stuff. You know, just from the trailer, just like backstory stuff for Rocket. Dude, I think Rocket's 100% gonna die. I don't know why. Like, I feel like everything they're showing with Rocket is like really sad and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like Rocket feels like he's gonna die. But yeah, everything in the trailer just looks great. Like, I just like the more serious tone while still having the, you know, the Guardians like humor and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this movie, and I hope it doesn't disappoint. I'm very excited for it, and it has the potential to be one of the strongest MCU movies in a bit. So yeah.
I mean, hopefully. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about the MCU once we talk about Ant-Man a little deeper. But for this trailer itself, I mean, like James Gunn said it himself that this is going to be last time we see the Guardians, and I hope that is actually true, because, you know, having a nice trilogy to really cap everything off along with their appearances within the Avengers movies is going to be very nice. And I think that this movie has the potential to be one of, if not the best MCU movies within this phase in particular, because the competition isn't really there, I'll be honest. So this movie looks like it is going within that serious tone, but at the same time, you know, being able to stick to the Guardians humor and sort of who they are as characters. And yeah, you know, this is going to be a nice send off to not just the Guardians, but obviously James Gunn as a director within the MCU stuff. And yeah, I hope that it does deliver, because there's obviously a lot of moving parts here, you know, bringing Gamora back into the story and sort of how that sort of plays into it. And yeah, you know, I am looking forward to this, and I hope that it is able to deliver.
Yeah, I really hope it does.
Next piece of news we got is the Super Mario movie plumbing commercial. So this is, I guess, like a little fun thing that they did to
Super Show.
Yep, to the Super Show crowd, and I believe they brought back the original Princess Peach voice actress to voice the girl within this commercial, which is pretty cool. So, you know, nice nod there. So yeah, I mean, like, this just, I guess, like solidifies my faith within the movie itself. And obviously there's been like a bunch of posters that they've been releasing slowly through social media. So I think that this just shows that they are really committed to making this movie as good as it can be, being very faithful while also, you know, bringing in those like, you know, little nods and hints to like previous iterations of Mario. And yeah, I think that this is going to be a very fun movie. And, you know, this little commercial was just them, I guess, like having fun with it. There's obviously like very subtle details within this commercial itself. Like I think within like the green screen scenes, you can actually see like the green on like the side of like Mario and Luigi's face, which is pretty neat. So yeah, you know, like this commercial, if you haven't seen it yet, just watch it. It's only like 30 seconds. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like you said, I really like how faithful it's looking like it's going to be. Like, they're bringing a lot of really cool references. Like, this is a pretty deep cut for people that might not have been familiar with the Super Show. I'm really happy they're doing it just because, they're already showing that this Mario is from like Brooklyn and he's getting isekai to the the Mushroom Kingdom. So I think sort of tying in the Super Show, which was a very kind of like that, is very cool. I really enjoyed the stupid little jingle. In the credits, better have Do the Mario. That would be very cool, just to have it in there. But yeah, definitely showing like this seems like a big labor of love for Illumination. So I'm very happy to see that because, like I said before, Illumination movies always feel very soulless to me. Like, like I like the first Despicable Me, like Despicable Me 1 was pretty cool. But everything after that I've always felt pretty like cookie cutter and solid, like Secret Life of Pets and Sing and the Minions movies all felt very like, like just made by a committee. Like there's like no soul put into them. At least for Pixar stuff and Disney stuff, like some of them hit miss, but like, I feel like most of them feel like they actually had like some sort of like heart put into it. So yeah, this is the first Illumination movie where I'm like, yeah, this looks like they actually like are caring a lot about this. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it's like good as the Sonic movies, because the Sonic movies everyone thought was gonna be bad and then ended up being really enjoyable. So hopefully the Mario movie can follow the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. So next, you got another video game adaptation, I guess. You got Apple TV Plus's Tetris movie. So this is gonna go into. It's not like about like it's not like literally a movie about Tetris, like Tetraminos, right? No, it's about the history of Tetris, how it happened. There's a lot of Russians and crazy stuff going on since when Tetris was made was during that sort of time period. So it looks like it's gonna be sort of a history about how Tetris was made, plus sort of like the relations between the U.S. and Russia is gonna be kind of weird and crazy. So yeah, definitely looks really interesting. Obviously this is based off true events and stuff. Like this isn't like made up or whatever. So yeah, obviously it's dramatized and stuff, but yeah, it's definitely gonna seem like an interesting thing if you didn't know like sort of the back lore of Tetris.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't know what the story of Tetris is, you can obviously watch the gaming historian video that sort of just gives you like the story as it is. And yeah, it's a crazy fucking story of how Tetris sort of came to be and sort of how it got sent over to the States and sort of became the game that it is. So yeah, I mean, like this movie is obviously like dramatizing that and sort of bringing it into, I guess, like the mainstream's eyes. And as a person who fucking loves Tetris, I love playing Tetris. Like if you were to give me Tetris like right in front of me, I would just play it until I lose, because Tetris is just such a fun game.
I hate Tetris, bro. I never liked Tetris.
I honestly had no idea what I was doing when I was younger. I was like, wait, I have to clear lines. I was like, oh, okay, that's the point of the game. And then once I discovered that, I mean, I just love every single iteration of Tetris, whether it's on my phone, whether it's on the DS, which is honestly like one of the better ports of Tetris. Like the story of how this game came to be is like insane. And I think that this movie looks promising. Whether it actually sticks to landing, we'll have to wait and see, because it is only streaming on Apple TV, which is kind of disappointing. I would have liked to see this in theaters to, see exactly, it in the best way that it can be. But, I'm going to have to watch it on my computer or on my TV or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So next bit of news we got here is Kevin Feige opening up about Marvel's Phase 5. He did an interview with EW. So there was a lot of things that people took here and there as like little snippets and sort of tweeted about them. So I'm just going to give you guys the, I guess, like the highlights of it. If you guys want to read the full article, as always, we keep the sources of everything we talk about in the description of the YouTube video. But anyways, they are changing the way how frequently MCU shows are released. So as of right now in 2023, only Loki Season 2 and Secret Invasion, and how they are created, how these shows in particular are created. I guess that they learned from She-Hulk that, hey, it's okay to be a little bit more episodic. It doesn't have to feel like a 6-8 hour movie kind of thing. So I'm glad that they're, taking the TV show medium and actually using it to their advantage, and hopefully using that for the future. He talked about future projects such as the Marvels, Captain America 4, Blade, and Spider-Man 4. So Spider-Man 4 is being written right now. Captain America 4, he went into detail on Harrison Ford's role, which he will be the president of the United States, which I believe him and Anthony Mackie are going to be, I guess, like butting heads with each other. He said Blade is quote unquote going well, which a little more hesitant whether or not that's actually true. And then Daredevil is going to be more episodic because obviously they have like 24 episodes to go through.
That's a lot. Yeah.
You know, if every single episode connects with each other, that's going to be fucking insane. But you know, if one episode is just like a one-off story, I'm sure that people will love that and sort of eat that up because we do have Charlie Cox and Mr. D'Onofrio returning. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really like, you know, this sort of like approach to the shows. Like, there's less of them, which is good because I felt that there was way too many of them.
Yeah,
you know, coming out, and like a lot of them couldn't get the resources they needed, and you know, making them more episodic and not sort of feel like extended movies is also good as well. Because you know, I felt like the strongest ones were the ones that kind of, you know, use the fact that it was a TV show to its advantage because you know you can't really get that experience anywhere else. You know, well, for the MCU rather, sorry. You know, like WandaVision, like I really appreciated how they really took that medium and like really made it unique. Same thing with She-Hulk. You know, I know She-Hulk is a little more mixed with people, but I think it really did use the fact that it was a TV show really good. Loki as well. I think Loki felt a little more sort of like episodic and stuff, and kind of used that to its advantage. So, yeah, hopefully these shows could really sort of take that. You know, the fact that they're TV shows instead of like just long movies, I think that'll be better for them pacing wise and like just planning everything out. Obviously, all the other movies coming out, you know, I'm excited for them as well. You know, Spider-Man 4 obviously is going to be very interesting, you know, for both of us, you know, to see what happens with this version of Peter Parker and how with the events of No Way Home is going to sort of affect him now, you know. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Obviously, Captain America 4 looks like it's going to be a very cool time. Blade, you know, we still don't know a lot about Blade, so I guess we'll see about Blade. And Daredevil, you know, I think, like you said, I think the more episodic thing is going to help it out because it's just so many episodes for that one. So I think it'll benefit from that sort of change and, like, I guess, philosophy they're going forward here. And, you know, I think Kevin Feige is really taking the criticisms of the MCU maybe, you know, to heart, which he should. Yeah. You know, like he like obviously, like I mean, I'm not as down about the MCU as a lot of other people are, but obviously there's like, you know, there has to be some changes being made here. I feel like they're kind of resting on their laurels a little bit. Like they're not really like sort of trying as hard as they were before Endgame was happening, which makes sense because, you know, they ended the whole thing they were planning for, and now they're kind of like in this weird limbo space. So hopefully Kevin Feige is able to sort of reel it back into something a little bit more focused. And yeah, I guess we'll talk about that when Ant-Man comes along. You know, we could, you know, start going into like what they're really leading up to. And I'm kind of like it, what they're leading up to, but you know, I guess we'll see how that sort of turns out in the future movies. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Kevin Feige definitely, he is the brains behind everything. He's the one that's making all of the decisions for the MCU. And I think that him actually taking the criticism to heart is a good thing, because, you know, there's people like my brother, you know, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people just like him where it's like after Endgame, it's like, fuck, man, do I really want to watch all these fucking shows that are coming out so often and so quickly? It's like, no, not really. And you know what? I don't really blame him. I did tell him that if you want to watch one, just watch Loki. I think that is obviously like the best one. And I think that that's the one that really...
the most important?
Yeah, the most important as well. You know, it sort of sets up everything with like the multiverse and everything like that. But that obviously didn't really matter when he went to go see Spider-Man or even Doctor Strange and Black Panther, I believe. So, you know, the MCU is definitely feeling like it's lost a little bit, which I guess I'll dive into more when we talk about Ant-Man. But yeah, you know, like there's obviously problems with it. And I think that is something that they should not ignore, especially because people are sort of losing interest within the MCU. And once people lose interest, once everyone loses interest, no one's going to fucking watch all of your like 300 movies that you're going to have at some point, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, speaking of more MCU news, we have Steven Yeun, you know, Glenn from Walking Dead, or, you know, I forgot what his name was from Nope, but he was in Nope as well. He's going to be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Thunderbolts. It's going to be a key role for the future of the MCU. So that's pretty cool. You know, he's a great actor. It's going to be interesting to see how his role is in the MCU. You know, I feel like whenever anyone joins the MCU, is like, that's like a... Like, you're good, you're set for like 5 years, you know, more than that. So maybe he's like, you know what, this is the bag right here, I'm gonna go for it. But hopefully the role he gets is also really good because, you know, he's a great actor as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does here, you know.
I mean, yeah, you know, he probably secured the bag when he did The Walking Dead, but hey, you know what, fuck it, bro, keep going. Yeah, he's obviously a fantastic actor. He has been in a lot of different things after The Walking Dead, which is a good thing. Obviously, you know, that just shows that he doesn't necessarily want to box himself into one specific role. He was actually able to break out of that, which is very, very good. Obviously Nope, and also the movie Minari, which I still have to watch. I heard that was fucking fantastic, and he's also the voice actor in Invincible as well. So very, very good on him. So hopefully that within the Thunderbolts movie, he actually does have a pretty cool role and something that people are willing to follow, because now I'm kind of excited to see Thunderbolts now that he's in it. Obviously, as a Asian American myself, seeing an Asian representation within movies and media is obviously very, very cool. So wonder what role he's going to play and sort of what character he's going to do and things like that. So yeah, whatever he does, hopefully it's done well, because obviously the MCU likes to, just have actors in the movie and then they just toss them away. So speaking of that, let's talk about Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So we're just going to do spoilers just off the rip, because I think it's kind of hard to not really talk about this movie without spoiling some things. But I mean, in my opinion, as a person of us two that really likes Ant-Man more, it's definitely. I mean, I really love Ant-Man 1. Ant-Man 1 is definitely like top 5 MCU movies for me personally.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, exactly. See. But anyways, Ant-Man and the Wasp 2, whatever the fuck it was called, I don't even know.
I think it was just Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, that movie, straight ass, dog shit. I fucking hated it.
I didn't watch it, so I didn't know.
But with this one, I like it a little more. I like it a little more than the second one, but that's not saying a whole lot. And a lot of what this movie worked for me was King the Conqueror. Obviously, when they introduced him within the beginning, I was like, Janet met him in the quantum realm. And obviously, she didn't fucking tell her family, which was my biggest complaint with this movie, was that trope of her being like, I can't explain this now. I can't tell you why or whatever. And I'm like, girl, you didn't tell your whole fucking family that like you were fighting like a war in the quantum realm. And then there's this guy named Kang the Conqueror who's like gonna like destroy everything if he's out, and you're gonna tell them now? It's like you didn't tell them before or anything like that. That was something that really like fucking pissed me off when I was watching the movie, because I'm like, yo, Janet, like, girl, maybe you should have stayed down there, because like the way that she was brought back onto Earth outside of the quantum realm within Ant-Man 2 was so fucking forced too. I was just like, yo, I fucking hate this shit. Like, it was not even explained that well, and then it's like she doesn't even explain what happened in the quantum realm until like halfway through the movie to go and give us all of that exposition with Kang and shit like that.
Yeah, so obviously I didn't watch Ant-Man 2, so I'm like, who's this? And then I'm like, okay, I just pieced it together. Like, it was Wasp's mom, and then like, yeah, I guess it got out of the quantum realm in the second movie, because I'm like, I didn't watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I don't know. But I was able to gather it pretty quickly. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I like the movie. I do think it's very messy, like like you said. Like, I think there's a lot of things that felt like maybe like didn't thought that far ahead. Like, obviously when they got her out of the quantum realm in Ant-Man 2, they probably didn't even like I don't know, they weren't probably even thinking about King the Conqueror. Just like, whatever, we got out of the quantum realm, whatever. And now in this one, it's like, okay, she was actually like, she saw Kang there, and then she's, I guess, didn't tell anyone after she got out, which feels like a pretty big thing. Mostly when she's been in there for 30 years, apparently, fought a whole war and revolution, and then you just don't mention that. That's a little weird. Obviously, I think there's a lot of missed potential with, obviously, MODOK is like the big one where it's just like, yeah, they did a what was the dude for Iron Man 3? The
fucking
Mandarin or whatever his fucking name is.
They pulled the Mandarin on us.
Yeah, so they made like the joke, like they made him a joke, and I'm like, whatever. I feel like MODOK is too iconic of a villain to do that with. Like, Mandarin is like, whatever, who cares? Like, you could make him a joke. Like, I know people were mad, but it's like, I don't think too many people cared that much. MODOK, though, I felt like is a pretty significant villain for the for Marvel, and just making him into like a joke feels really weird. Yeah. And I didn't really like. Yeah, the jokes are kind of funny, I guess, but like, was it really worth like destroying a whole villain just for a joke? Like, I really don't think so. Obviously, Bill Murray was also there for like 2 seconds, and then that's it. So again, a lot of weird missed potential with a lot of like the sort of other side characters and stuff. But I feel like Kang the Conqueror does carry a lot of the movie just because he does a good job sort of, introducing himself, being really threatening and stuff, and like sort of like what he's really mysterious about what he's gonna do and stuff. He just has a really good aura about him, and I thought the same thing in Loki as well when they faced him in the end of Loki. Like, he has like this really intimidating, like sort of like aura
presence
around him. And
presence.
Yeah. I think they did a good job with it in this movie as well. Until, like you said, in the third act, he just gets swarmed by ants. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's a fucking mess. Like that is 100% a fact. I wouldn't say that this is like the best start that they could have for Phase 5, especially just because it's like, Phase 4 kind of happened and went. Like a lot of people don't even realize that Phase 4 happened because of so much of what was going on with the shows and everything like that, and sort of how fast that they were like pumping everything out. So now they're sort of taking their time a little bit more, and this being the first one obviously doesn't suit anyone well. The Wasp is in the movie, but she's not really doing anything, unfortunately. Like she's honestly only there to save Scott when he needs her, and it's like in the end when they're having like their little like romance moment, I'm like, oh yeah, they are lovers. And I'm like, I didn't feel that throughout this entire movie. At least within Ant-Man 2, it's like they're like bickering and shit because Scott sort of like outed them because he went to go fight with Captain America, and that sort of caused like a whole thing with her and her family. So there was that there, but within this movie it's kind of just like she's there, that's about it. Like she really doesn't do anything.
I think because there's just a lot of ant people in this one. Like there's the whole ant family, I guess. We have like Hank and Janet, and then Cassie as well, sort of being like the third ant person. So there's like a lot of main characters to juggle, and I felt like they didn't really do a great job at that. I don't know. I almost felt like this movie was too big of a scope for what this really was trying to be, I guess. Like it's like a whole revolution thing, and you're introducing Kang, who's like sort of like the next big villain and stuff.
Yeah.
But you also gotta focus on the Ant-Man family stuff. It feels like there's just too many cooks, like too many things happening for this movie to handle, and it really felt that way. I was feeling like Cassie, like I felt like she was a little too hard on Scott a little bit. I don't know. I felt like I get it. Like, I get like he's kind of being like a little too full of himself with his book and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like he did, like you said, he did save the fucking world. Like, like give him a break. Like, oh, you're not doing enough still. Like, all right, calm down.
What do you do nowadays, huh, Scott? I was like, oh my fucking God, Jesus.
Like, bro, chill out. Like, he's supposed to fight a supervillain every week? Like, come on.
Like, let my man collect the royalties, let him get the bag,
Honestly, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Cassie as a character, my girlfriend did not fucking like her throughout this movie, but she doesn't really like a lot of like kid characters, which is understandable.
Right.
And I do feel like that she was being a little bit too mean to Scott at certain points. I'm like, all right, like I get it, like he's not really doing a lot, but it's like, come on, he's trying.
My boy's trying.
And I think that like what the trailers were sort of like portraying like Kang and Scott's like, I guess like dynamic was that like the whole thing about like getting time back, you actually can get that back. And I'm like, oh, okay, how is this gonna go with Scott? And Scott's like, no, I'm shutting it down instantly. I'm like, okay, yeah, like obviously he's not gonna accept that shit. But I really do like that scene with him, Cassie, and Kang, because it was like a really good moment to show that like Kang ain't fucking around. Like he's getting his thing whether you like it or not. So I think that was like a great introduction to him. And like you said in like the third act where it was like he just kind of got swarmed by ants, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess he didn't have like his tech to really help him there, but at the same time it's like if he's killed other iterations of the Avengers, like how is this movie supposed to have like a really like happy ending, like a really solid happy ending? And I was just like, I didn't really like that. And I feel like if Scott were to die, or even him and the Wasp getting stuck in the quantum realm, would have been a much better ending, which I think that apparently like there were like reshoots like a couple months ago, so they might have reshot it, and that's what the ending that we got, which is fucking bullshit, and I hate it.
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know, maybe I mean I thought someone was gonna die, but no one died. I feel like them getting stuck in the quantum realm probably would have been like they've already done that so many times, so maybe they didn't want to do that again. Like Janet just was in the quantum realm, and then Scott was in the quantum realm. That's how he survived the snap and stuff. I feel like they didn't want to do that again, which makes sense. But also would have made sense because they have whole allies there now. They could have been like in the next Ant-Man or in like the next Avengers. You'd be like, oh, look, all my cool quantum friends now, or whatever. I don't fucking know. So yeah, I don't know. It really did feel like it kind of like wrapped up a little too nicely. And I felt like Kang should have been saved either for an Avengers movie or something else, because I feel like his character is a little too serious for someone like Ant-Man. Because if it was any other villain and he got swarmed by giant ants, like that's kind of funny. But wait, Kang is like, oh, he looks a little weak. And I know this is like the whole point of Kang is just like there's a shit ton of him.
Yeah.
And like, you know, this is not even like the biggest Kang. Like he's not even like the biggest threat. Like there's more powerful versions of him, which is also cool. But I don't know. I felt like there was probably a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry. When I was watching the movie, I really, you know, I enjoyed the movie after I came out with it. It's just the more you think about it, the more messy it gets to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that doesn't really make sense. And like, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it quickly fell apart for me when I watched Ant-Man 2. I was like, do I like it better than Ant-Man 1? And then I kept thinking about it. I was like, no, it's actually just like dog shit. So with this movie, yeah, it's kind of like the same way. And I feel like a lot of people won't go back to theaters to rewatch it again because it kind of is very long, and you know, a lot of stuff does happen, but it's at the same time it's like you know, like stuff's happening here, stuff's happening there, is it all really making sense or whatever? Because like my thing with the quantum realm especially is that like, you know, it's supposed to be like this universe that's like so small that we can't even see it, but it feels like Earth when we're like in it, because everyone's just like looking at like blue screens and shit, you know, like nothing's fucking practical. So like when we're like in the world, it didn't feel like the quantum realm, you know? It felt like we were just like in like another country or some shit, you know? Obviously like certain weird things were happening with like the buildings moving and like they're actually like living, breathing things or whatever. But like there wasn't enough for me to be like fully sold that, oh yeah, we are in the quantum realm.
I don't agree that Rotten Tomatoes has a lower score than Eternals. I think that's kind of bullshit. I definitely, like, I know you have more of a soft spot for Eternals. I thought Eternals was like not that great. I definitely would put this a lot higher than that. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's still more of a string of more, I guess, weaker Marvel movies. Again, I still like kind of liked it. You know, I enjoyed this movie and I came out of it like being like, yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's, you know, still like Multiverse of Madness, Love and Thunder. This, you know, it hasn't really been a great string of Marvel movies. It's kind of on top of the Marvel fatigue a lot of people have. It's like it ain't really doing a lot of people any favors right now. And honestly, the most pog moment of this whole movie was like the second end credit scene. When it was like, oh, here's Loki. I'm like, yeah.
That was definitely the biggest moment in my theater reaction where it was like, oh fuck, it's Loki. And it's like, yes, more Loki.
Really pogged.
More Loki. So which is pretty much just like a sneak peek of season 2, you know?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, basically.
But yeah, you know, the movie's obviously messy. It's not like the worst MCU movie ever, but it's definitely like not one of the good ones, I would say.
Right.
Especially because of what they did with like Janet and like MODOK, even Cassie to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think MODOK is definitely the big. I mean, I already knew that like coming in, that was probably gonna be the biggest disappointment, and yeah, it kind of was. Why did they make him a joke villain? That's just so weird.
I don't know. Why? Like, I get it. I get that they were trying to like connect, you know, the first movie's villain to this one, but it felt like that shouldn't have been a thing if they wanted to introduce MODOK at all, because I feel like MODOK really wasn't needed here. You know, like he was.
Yeah, he really wasn't. Yeah,
he was acting like a second, or I guess like the main henchman to Kang, but at the same time, it's like that could have been anyone. Kind of thing. So yeah, it seems like a really wasted potential of a villain, especially within the MCU where they may need more of those in the future. So but yeah, you know, I just wish that the stakes in this movie actually felt like stakes, and I feel like if Kang's motives were actually clearly mapped out for us within this movie, I think that would have been great as well, because apparently like he wants to create a timeline with like no superheroes or whatever, which like if that was said in the movie, like that would have been fucking like insane, you know, him saying that, oh, you know, like I think I killed a Thor before. I was like, okay, but like show us that kind of thing, you know? Like imagine if when when Janet like touched like the fucking power thing and like saw like his mind or whatever, which I don't even know how that shit works, you know? Imagine if like we saw like visions of like certain like Avengers like getting like fucking killed or whatever. That would have been insane, you know? Like that would have been like cool and like actually bought into the idea that he is a super intimidating villain, which at that point of the movie I was like, yeah, he is like pretty like insane. And then the fucking third act happens where like he just gets defeated by ants and he beats the shit out of Scott, but not enough to kill him.
Yeah, I agree. Like I feel like it probably would have been. I think it introduced Kang with like a more serious superhero. I think it probably would have been a lot better, because I think like Ant-Man and him, I just like I don't really know why they decided to make Ant-Man the one that.
But even then, like who would you use to like introduce Kang with? You know, because
I don't know honestly. Like I guess like. It would be hard to find like who would be good against that. Like I don't know, either because usually it's like, you know, I don't know, maybe like a Thor or like a Captain America or something. Like I guess one of the bigger heroes, or I guess a Doctor Strange would have been cool as well. Like just to see them fight. But yeah, I feel like Ant-Man is just too much of a kind of a jokey hero to really take seriously. Because yeah, he's Ant-Man. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So it is what it is. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, overall, like I think it's fine. Like, you know, I enjoyed my time with it, but yeah, like, you know, if you're tired of the MCU, I don't think this is really gonna convince you that it's getting any better. So yeah, hopefully Kevin Feige is really confident in like this phase, I guess, because this was the start of phase 5, right? So yeah, hopefully things start to get a bit better. Because right now it's still very like kind of whatever. So
now that we have like a actual like direction of it, because I feel like phase 4 was like just like this prologue to everything, where it was like trying to introduce all of these new heroes and you know, worlds and things like that. So I feel like with this movie, it's being like, all right, here's like the main baddie Kang, and it kind of fell flat for the most part. You know, Jonathan Majors, props to him, fantastic fucking actor, but you know, other than that, everything around him was kind of mid.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, we're going to talk about The Last of Us, episodes 5 and 6. Obviously, spoilers for these as well. So let's talk about episode 5 real quick, because this premiered Friday because of the Super Bowl. So they were like, let's make sure people watch it so they aren't watching.
Let's sure make people cry before the Super Bowl happens.
So what did you think of the episode, Damian?
I think this is the best episode they've done, which is saying a lot because they keep topping themselves. So
yeah,
I definitely think was my favorite episode, though. And I kind of knew it was probably going to be my favorite episode just because obviously what was going to happen, but I didn't expect some of the stuff that happens in this to happen. So yeah, definitely my favorite episode so far.
Yeah, I think that what they do a lot with the adaptation of this show is just making it better, just making the story more fleshed out and actually giving these characters character, you know, giving them sort of tragic choices or moments, and you know, seeing Sam and Henry's story before they meet Joel, and you know, before they have like the guns to their face. And I think having that twist of Henry actually never killing anyone, never actually being a violent person, but you know, he was like a snitch and indirectly killed Kathleen's brother. I think that was like a very nice way to go about it, because you know, the way that Neil Druckmann views Sam and Henry to Ellie and Joel is to have them be like a parallel to them, you know, sort of like a mirror, and having, you know, these characters be that, but also be somewhat different from each other, where like, you know, Henry's never killed anyone, you know, Sam has the hearing disability and
deaf. Yeah.
So, you know, having things like that really does make these characters feel like characters. And I think that, you know, when we get to the final moment when he has to fucking kill Sam, and that scene was just so insane because of how they changed it, and you know, having it be like there's only one gun on the floor and Sam gets it, and then you know, he's sort of like hesitating, and then when he actually does it, and it's like, oh fuck.
yeah they definitely made it a lot sadder. It doesn't help that they like made Sam a lot younger, because I think he was like the same age as Ellie in the game. Like he was like, maybe a year younger. This one he's like half her age, so it's like even sadder because he's just this cute little kid. It's just like, no.
Yeah.
And he's deaf and you can't hear anything. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And that moment between him and Ellie, having it so he shows her the bite and then her trying with her blood, I was like, oh, okay, like this is like a very interesting change. We know what's gonna happen though the fucking next morning, and I'm like, oh,
it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, you know, like she's trying so hard to, you know, fulfill like, I guess like her purpose in life is of what she believes, and it's just like
save the world.
Yeah. It's fucking not working so far.
I think it's just like you said, I think this adaptation has been such a good like sort of thing to like expand everyone's story, because you know, in the main game, it was just random hunter people, but having like them be like, oh, they fought off Fedra, and then like Henry ratted out Kathleen's brother, and then that's why there's the motive to keep chasing him and stuff. Like I feel like all this stuff really adds a lot to the story without detracting really anything, because it's not like the pacing feels bad or anything either. Like it's still going just about as smoothly as the game is, but you're still adding all these little things to make everything make a lot more sense as well. So I really do enjoy that. I think everything just feels, it's like if Neil Druckmann is like, okay, let me write this to be even better than how it was before, which is really cool. Like I think they put a lot of effort into making everything flow a lot better and just things make more sense. And I like I get Kathleen's thing, but goddamn, dude, she was insane.
Yeah, no, she's fucking psychotic.
She was a capital C word right there. My lord, like what the fuck is your problem?
No, when she was like, "Look, kids die all the time," I was like, oh, "Okay," and then she dies by the kid clicker. I was like, nice,
dude. I never even know. I'm like, we never seen like kid clickers. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. so having that be a part of the show and be a part of this adaptation, and that whole sequence itself with like the bloater and everything, where it's like she didn't tell her people, and then like, oh shit, here's the fucking bloater, and like it's like insanely strong, where he's just mowing down people and just killing people, and obviously killing Perry or whatever his name was, I forget.
Yeah. Apparently that death animation was the same death animation he uses on Joel if the bloater gets you. So I mean, that's a really cool touch.
Yeah.
And I think this was a really cool way to like bring up the bloater, because he kind of just shows up in Bill's town. You just kind of fight him there and then whatever. I think this is a lot more of a dramatic moment to bring him out, and like it makes sense to really like spook everyone and be like, oh shit, run. So I think this was a great change to this whole segment, the whole sniper service segment and stuff. So I think it was really good, and also showed that when Ellie was sort of like getting cornered, that Henry was saved her, and then when Henry and Sam were getting like there's a bunch of zombies on them, like Ellie was able to save them as well. So I think it showed that they did care for each other, but unfortunately they both died at the end. So
yeah, the fucking I'm sorry on the grave, I was like, oh my fucking god. Oh like, god damn, god, not like this, man. But yeah, episode 5, definitely one of the best episodes so far. I mean, me personally, I really like episode 6. Just because episode 6 is really good as well. Just because I actually cried during this episode. It was during the bedroom scene when Joel goes up and he's talking to Ellie, but obviously Ellie heard the whole conversation he had with Tommy, and that sequence with him and Tommy was like really, really good. I think that some people are sort of taking it in a different way, where they're like, they don't like how they're sort of changing Joel in a way where like he's showing his emotions more. But I think that it makes sense, because like he's talking to his brother.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like the issue with actually the main game was that I think Joel was a little too stoic all the time. Like I feel like it took a little too long for him. I mean, he never really showed his emotions that like this, not in the game at least. Like he has talks with Ellie and stuff. Actually, like that whole bedroom scene with Ellie was like word for word what they say in the game. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I think Joel showing more emotion and like him actually crying and stuff, I think it just humanizes him a lot more, and I think it'll make his actions at the end of the show make more sense as well. Like obviously he's not like really stable at the moment, and like he wants to like do the best for Ellie, but he feels like he's not strong enough for it. Like, I felt they had that same exchange in the game, except like this one hits a lot harder just because you can see Joel's like a lot more like desperate and be like, I can't do it, So,
and the fact that they aged him up more, makes more sense.
Yeah, because the age difference is a lot, because he was older than Tommy in the original game as well, but in this game you could really tell, So I think they did a way better job just showing sort of like, I guess like his PTSD and sort of like how much of a mental toll all of this is really taking on him, way better than the game did. I think Joel in the game was a little too stoic all the time, and I think this one really shows his emotions a lot more, which is fair. Because I hate when people are like, oh, no one should show emotion. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Like I would be crying like a baby during all of this. I would be dead.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, like, you see hints of it throughout the entire episode, where it's like obviously the beginning sequence, which is very amusing, him trying to deal with these older people, and then and he's like, who the fuck is this kid? And it's like, show me where we are. So you're lost. It's like, okay, like they're fucking lost. So and then like afterwards, when he's like outside and like he's realizing like what the old guy said is like kind of true, where it's like, oh my fucking god, like if I lose her, he's gonna like pretty much break down, and he's having like chest palpitations or whatever. And like that's what I thought was gonna be like the change, or like the difference was between that and like him getting stabbed at the end, but obviously they still kept it where like he gets like really, really fucking injured, and then within the town, when it's like he thinks he sees Sarah, and it's like, oh fuck, like oh my god, it's like, no, they're torturing this man.
My poor Joel just got put in the ringer this episode, like just mentally and physically. So Yeah, and like, it really helps that again the pacing I think is a lot better. When they go to Tommy's town in the original game, after they talk, they got attacked randomly by raiders. I remember like for no reason. Obviously, that's cut out in this one. I think it just flows a lot better. It shows that the town is really secure and it feels like a real sort of safe haven. In between all the fucking zombies and raiders and shit. And then when they go to the the university, that was a whole segment in the game, and this one is very straight to the point. They found out the fireflies aren't there anymore, they moved away, then like a few raiders attack them, and then they're moving on to when Joel is hurt and Ellie gotta take care of him now. So I think all of that it's like feels a lot better as a show than just going through a whole ass episode, which I thought was gonna happen. Like I thought it was gonna be a whole episode just in the university, but it wasn't. It was just like the last 10 minutes of this one, which I think it just fits a bit better for a show. So
yeah, because when I think back to that segment at the university, it's a lot of them like trying to like move stuff around, it's
not just gameplay stuff.
Powering on the generator. I'm like, it does make sense to really cut that stuff out. So I'm glad that they are really trimming the fat here, and when they are allowed into Tommy's town, you see like the first encounter where it's like, hands up, don't move. We're gonna have this fucking dog sniff you real quick to see if you're infected. And like, obviously, everyone's like worried about like, oh shit, what is this dog gonna do with Ellie? Because Ellie's obviously like immune, but obviously he doesn't detect her. So that is something that I think that was pretty cool that they show that hey, like they're going through steps to make sure that they aren't bringing in people that are infected that could potentially ruin the fucking town, and like showing the town, giving us that tour and everything like that. And when Joel sees Tommy, he's like, I'm here to save you. I'm like, no, bro. he doesn't need saving, my guy. This place is secure. You're the one that needs saving. And just having like that little, my apologies, that little like conversation there and everything like that, and then seeing them like scarf down that food, and people are thinking that it's Dina that was like that girl like staring at her, which I'm inclined to think so as well. I didn't catch that at first, and then I was like, oh yeah, shit, like they're like putting in like little traces and shit from like part 2 into here, because obviously they're gonna come back after Joel kills everyone at the hospital. Just going back to that fucking bedroom scene, man. I don't know why, but like the way that they literally just took the scene from the game, I'm like tearing up thinking about it right now. They literally just took the scene from the game and they just brought it into the show without really changing anything. I think the lines are the exact same and everything like that. That just made me tear up. I was like, bro, man, like these fucking characters, man. Oh my God. Like fucking, you don't know what loss is and shit like that. I was like, fuck. No. Yeah, I'm like, damn, like they're saying I'm like, that's the same conversation from the game. And I think they did a great job adapting that as well. And honestly, like speaking of part 2, obviously I haven't played part 2 yet, but I feel like a lot of the issues with part 2 is more pacing issues and like sort of like being a bit overblown and stuff. And I think this season has been showing that they could really cut away a lot of the fat and still kind of keep the core of the story like really well intact and make it better, I think. So I'm hoping when they do adapt season 2, they could really make it flow a lot better, because I know I haven't played it. I'm just hearing from what other people have said. So hopefully they could make it flow a lot better, and like the pacing is like just better in general as well. Because I think that would really help part 2's like sort of issues with the writing at least. Because watching this show, I'm like, damn, it almost feels like this has always been a show. Like it feels better than the game at this point. So yeah, definitely. I think that they are already considering that it's going to be longer than the 9 or 10 episodes that this season is. So it makes sense. There's obviously a lot more that they need to discuss and talk about. So I think that you are correct in that assessment, where they're probably going to trim a lot of those gameplay segments and a lot of those, miscellaneous things that you're doing within the game as a games kind of thing. So I hope that once we get to season 2, whenever that is, years from now, I hope, just because I want to make sure that they fucking get it right. And I'm sure Neil Druckmann wants to make sure that he gets it right, because a lot of people really hated part 2, but obviously there's still people that are watching this show and be like, I fucking love The Last of Us, and as they cry during the episodes and shit like that. So I mean, all they really have to do is just show Abby in like the lab when everyone's getting shot, and that would do a lot more to sort of flesh out too. So yeah or show like, I guess like an after credit thing where like Abby discovers all of the bodies, because that's how it is. She's not in like the actual operating room. She finds out after, and like she walks in and like her fucking dad's dead, and I'm like, oh fuck, like that is not cool. But I think that also gets into the sort of like
that you gotta do what you gotta survive, because he had to talk with Henry about that when like ratting out people, is like, yeah, I did it for my brother. And then Tommy, when he says like, oh, we did what we had to do to survive, but was it the right thing? Like, I think they're setting up a lot more things than they did in the game to sort of be like, okay, is Joel's actions at the end justified then? Like, I think the show is planting a lot more of those seeds in you to be like that ultimate final decision Joel makes at the end. I mean, it's probably gonna be the same.
Yeah.
But, I'm just saying, like, I think it's really smart how the show is putting a lot of those things in your head. Like, is this the right thing? Are they just doing what to do to survive? People gotta die and stuff. So, yeah, I think it's really cool how the show is just like putting that in your head around. It's gonna be interesting to see how people that only watch the show, how they're gonna react to be like, was Joel in the right for that, or is he in the wrong? I don't know. So
is Pedro Pascal still daddy? Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely something really, really good to point out, because it's like, yeah, that decision at the end. I will never forget when I first played The Last of Us when it came out on the PS3, and the ending happened, and I was like, fuck, am I supposed to like Joel? Like, oh my god,
yeah.
like he just doomed humanity, maybe. I don't know, but yeah. Obviously, years have gone on since then, and I'm like, yeah, he's a bad guy, and people do bad things to get what they want or get what they feel is needed, and that's just how the world of The Last of Us works. Especially after playing part 2, it's like not everyone's as black and white as they seem, and no one's really a good guy, no one's really a bad guy, especially if you survived in that world for so long. You've done some bad shit to get past. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that they are planning little things here and there where Tommy's like, we murdered people, and I'm like, yeah, you guys probably did. So
yeah.
But yeah, I cannot wait to see the next episode, because it's going to be totally focused on the Left Behind DLC, which I think is a good move, instead of showing us, Ellie snooping around, trying to find medicine and shit like that. I'm sure that we are going to get introduced to what's his name within
the cannibal guy.
Yeah, within episode
Pedo
8.
Cannibal guy.
So we'll see. But I'm glad that they are taking this opportunity where like Joel is, out of commission, to be like, all right, well, here's Ellie's backstory. Here's everything that happened to Ellie, because we know what happened to Joel during Outbreak Day, but we don't really know what happened to Ellie. Not necessarily on Outbreak Day, but what happened to her backstory.
I think it's a smart time to sort of add it in, because I was wondering when they were gonna fit in the Left Behind. Like, I was wondering when they were gonna put it in, and I think this is a good time to sort of bring it in, since Joel again is kind of like there right now. He's got just a piece of wood just laying there. So I think it's a good time to sort of bring the DLC up.
Yeah, especially because we're probably gonna see Marlene, and then when she dies at the end, it's probably gonna be a lot more emotional for people.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen her since episode 1 or 2 or whatever. So it's been a while. But yeah, so far so good. Is there anything else you'd like to add, good Saw?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 107. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.